Millions of children learned that poem. It's simple, catchy, innocent, but hidden behind that nursery rhyme rhythm was something world-changing. 1 year later, a pope in Rome would attempt to divide the entire non-Christian world between Spain and Portugal. One line, one decree, one decision. The consequences would echo across continents for centuries. Empires would rise, civilizations would collapse. Millions of people would live inside a reality shaped by a line they never agreed to. The year is 1493. Columbus has returned from his first voyage. Europe is stunned. The oceans no longer seem endless. The impossible feels possible. And now Spain and Portugal, Europe's two rising maritime powers, are racing to claim lands, trade routes, wealth, and influence. But there's a problem. Who owns what? And who gets to decide? Enter Pope Alexander VI. Born Rodrigo Borgia in Valencia, Spain, he came from the infamous Borgia family, one of the most powerful and controversial dynasties in Renaissance Europe, the House of Borgia. The Borgias became legendary for political maneuvering, ambition, scandal, and ruthless power. Alexander VI remains one of the most debated popes in history. Despite the controversy, he became one of the most influential geopolitical figures of the Age of Exploration, because in 1493, he tried to split the world in half. What was he trying to do? Officially, prevent Spain and Portugal from going to war over newly encountered lands. But beneath that was something much larger: control trade, expand Christianity, increase European influence, and establish authority over territories Europeans were just beginning to encounter. To accomplish this, Pope Alexander VI issued a papal bull called Inter caetera. The phrase is Latin, inter, among, caetera, other things. So the title roughly means, among other things, which sounds strangely casual, considering the document helped reshape the planet. This decree became one of the foundations of what historians call the Doctrine of Discovery. Here's the astonishing part. When the Pope divided the world in 1493, not merely a few kingdoms on earth existed. Likely thousands of sovereign political entities, nations, kingdoms, empires, tribal confederations, city-states, civilizations, households were already established across the globe. The Aztec Empire existed. The Inca world was rising. African kingdoms flourished. The Ming Dynasty ruled China. The Ottoman Empire dominated major trade routes, and indigenous nations covered the Americas. And yet, a relatively small group of European powers acted as though they possessed the authority to divide lands already inhabited by millions. Pope Alexander VI drew a line west of the Cape Verde Islands. Spain would receive rights west of the line. Portugal would receive rights east of it. Portugal objected. So in 1494, Spain and Portugal renegotiated the arrangement in the Treaty of Tordesillas. The treaty shifted the line farther west into the Atlantic Ocean. At that time, nobody fully realized what that would mean. But that adjustment placed part of South America, modern-day Brazil, inside Portugal's sphere. And that changed history forever. Look at South America today. Most countries speak Spanish. Colombia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Ecuador, Venezuela. But Brazil speaks Portuguese. Why? Because Portugal claimed Brazil under the Treaty of Tordesillas. Portuguese settlers, law, religion, architecture, language became dominant there for centuries. So when you hear samba in Rio, Portuguese street names, Brazilian Portuguese accents, carnival celebrations, you are hearing echoes of a treaty signed in the 1490s. Meanwhile, Spain's influence spread through much of the rest of South America. So when you hear cumbia, vallenato, salsa, salsa caleña, champeta, joropo, you are also hearing the aftershocks of that same invisible line. One of the greatest artifacts from this era is the 1502 Cantino World Map. Acquired by Alberto Cantino from a Portuguese original in Lisbon, the map shows the world as Europeans understood it in the early 1500s. And incredibly, it includes the demarcation line from the Treaty of Tordesillas. Imagine seeing that map in 1502. The earth itself appears divided. The Cantino Map captures the moment Europe began carving the globe into spheres of influence. This was the age of exploration. Europe was exploding outward. Religion and empire were deeply intertwined. Maps were incomplete. Trade routes meant power. And Christian monarchies increasingly believed expansion was both a mission and a right. Navigation was improving. Ships were reaching farther. Suddenly, the Atlantic Ocean no longer looked like the edge of the world. It looked like opportunity. But for indigenous peoples across the Americas, the consequences were devastating. European expansion brought colonization, forced conversions, slavery, warfare, disease, exploitation, cultural destruction, and the effects still echo today in law, land disputes, politics, and identity. The line may have been invisible, but the consequences are everywhere. On maps, in language, religion, culture, music, food, in national identity itself, the political future of continents, etc., etc., etc. A pope in Rome drew a line, and centuries later, in Brazil they say, "Oi, tudo bem?" And in Colombia, they say, "Buenas, ¿qué más?" Entire nations inherited different colonial systems, and much of the modern Atlantic world developed along paths shaped by that decision and division. And perhaps the strangest part, at the moment the Pope divided the world, most of the world had absolutely no idea it had been divided. History remembers Columbus, but history often forgets what came next. A pope, a treaty, a line in the ocean, and suddenly the future of continents changed. History is not always rewritten by armies. Sometimes it is rewritten by ink. History isn't just kings and dates. It's ambition, fear, power, faith, and the struggle to shape the world. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share the video with someone who loves history. Welcome to the House of Mistofer.